and probably a lot of us is.
Yeah. And it's like the hopelessness attracts other hopelessness. But anyway, we're
Are we
live.
live?
So
All
we're
right.
we're live. Good excuse me. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're watching this Facebook Live or YouTube Live or LinkedIn Live, wherever you're watching this. Face and voice of Dr. Tolu Olabinton, Living Spring Family Medical Center here in Mansfield, Texas, where we help our patients live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I'm always excited whenever we do the lives. I think that's my first line, but I'm delighted and excited to have on Dr. Katrina Coulter. Did I pronounce that right?
Coulter.
Coulter. Should have asked you. We're yapping before the show, and I didn't even ask you how to pronounce your name. Coulter. And I'm excited to be on here discussing how to keep your gut healthy. Doc, thank you so much for coming. How are you? And yes.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I think this is going to be a really great, important conversation, and I'm really excited to talk to your audience about it. I'm doing great. We had a nice day here in Colorado, so it's been a good day.
All right, awesome. So, Doc, could you kindly introduce yourself? Oh, before we do that, for those of you who are watching, please, I'd like to give you a shout out. All right, so please, if you don't mind, you can comment where you're watching from. If you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching replay, please go ahead and do that as well, and we will go ahead. Now, that being said, Doc, could you kindly introduce yourself? Who are you, what you do, and why you do the things that you do?
All right. So I'm Dr. Katrina Coulter. I'm an infectious disease specialist, and I'm in clinical practice in Denver, Colorado right now. And I have been out of fellowship for about 10 years in clinical practice. At this point in my career, I see people about half time in the hospital and half time in the clinic. And I am really interested in gut health and how my patients can keep their GI tract healthy. And I kind of became interested in this because I've always used appetite as a way to gauge my patient's health. And so I usually meet people in the hospital. They're usually pretty sick with life-threatening illnesses. And then I'll follow them in the outpatient clinic. And one way to kind of assess where they are is to ask them, how's your appetite doing? Because when we're really sick, we don't want to eat. And so that opened the door, and I started talking to people about food. And it turns out my patients had a ton of questions about food, and nobody was really talking to them about food and nutrition. And I guess we were all kind of thinking it was somebody else's job. So that really evolved into conversations about what foods they should be eating and the microbiome and how the antibiotics are affecting it and what they should be doing while they're on antibiotics. And so I really started then making it a point in every patient interaction to make sure to educate them. And now I'm taking it a step further and trying to educate people more in the public that aren't my patients about the importance of the gut microbiome and why we need to take care of it.
All right, so you just threw some big words, microbiome.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about, what does that mean? What is gut health? Like, why is gut health so important for overall wellness? But before we do that, what does it mean? What's the gut microbiome? What does that mean?
So the microbiome is the trillions of mostly bacteria, but there's some fungus in there and some viruses as well that live in our GI tract. And so one way you could think of it is all the way from mouth to anus, we are an open tube, and that is completely colonized with bacteria and fungus and viruses. And it's like a symbiotic relationship. So they're not taking from us. They're there to help us. They need us to live. They want us to be healthy because then, they can live as well.
Okay. All right. So it's like a symbiotic relationship between us and them. Okay. So why is the gut health so important for overall wellness?
So this has been an area where we've had a lot of research going on in the past 20 years and really kind of gaining in popularity. And we're realizing that other than just for, good digestion, that the microbiome is actually playing a huge role in all of our health, in all kinds of different health conditions and overall health. So a few areas to think about are like the immune system. So the GI tract is where a lot of our immune cells go to train. It's almost like a boot camp for immune cells. So they're produced in, thymus and other organs, and then they'll travel to the gut. They see bacteria, those bacteria train them. There they get to learn, what they should be attacking, what they should not be attacking. So our immune system health, there's also the gut itself, the bacteria protect us. The good ones, or the helpful ones, protect us from these more aggressive pathogens that come along and cause diarrhea or vomiting. So things like norovirus or salmonella, things that are not part of our symbiotic microbiome. If we have a healthy microbiome, they will help prevent these other guys or these other things from coming along and making us sick. We've also found links now between mental health and cognitive function and how our gut is functioning. We've found links to cancers, definitely to gastrointestinal cancers like colon cancer, but also other cancers. And then links to autoimmune and chronic diseases. So things like diabetes and cardiovascular disease seem to have a connection to our microbiome, as well as things like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. And then our microbiome actually plays a big role in weight management. So telling us kind of what we want to eat and whether or not we're going to harvest a lot of energy from that food, or we're just going to send it on down.
Wow. Okay, so it is important how our gut is doing. It's linked to a lot of things. Now, how do we know how can you tell, for those who are watching, when your gut is not? And I'm for those of you watching, just hang on. I'm going to ask questions. I do see some questions in the comments, so just hang on. But what are some common signs that someone's gut health is not in good shape?
So the most obvious sign is going to be poor digestion, meaning so difficulty with bowel movements is probably the easiest way to think of it, where you're having either chronic constipation or you're kind of alternating between constipation and diarrhea or chronic diarrhea. It might not be that obvious. It might be more subtle, where you're just kind of having excessive gas and bloating and just kind of discomfort. And that may be in connection with kind of some chronic fatigue. You just don't feel well most of the time, or you kind of have some recurrent like skin conditions or rashes that don't really have a good diagnosis, or that maybe, kind of come and go.
Okay. So what are things that we can do as, patients, as humans, doing the human thing we do? How do we promote a healthy gut? Are there foods, are there habits, are there tips to kind of help that whole process?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can do. And the cool thing about it is it's modifiable. You're not stuck with your same microbiome. So the biggest thing you can do is feed it what the helpful bacteria like to eat. And so that is fiber. And you might have heard the term probiotic, or I'm sorry, prebiotic. And prebiotic is really just the food that those microorganisms want. And so it's fiber. And fiber is found in plants and vegetables, whole grains, and nuts. And so the more of that you eat, the more you're going to nourish a healthy population. So traditionally, I think as humans, we would eat about 100 grams of fiber per day. And now I would hazard that most humans are getting like 6 to 10 grams in a day.
Okay, so for context, I didn't say that to you, right? Because I'm not big on
No,
fussing.
she didn't. She didn't
I didn't
lead
tell
me
you.
along.
I didn't prep you.
True.
Fiber. Now, for someone who's watching, is there a way to quantify? Because I have patients who say, "Well, I don't know how much fiber should I eat, like compared to my fist? Like how much, generally speaking, doc, would you recommend as far as fiber?"
So I know the general recommendation is 25 to 30 grams per day. And How much that is, I don't have a good comparison of like what an apple would be. I bet we could Google that real quick, but
Yes, we could. I tend to like to say fist, 5 to 7 fist size fruits and veggies a day. You can't go wrong. Your fist, not mine. So 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 it's good for your gut, and I'm so happy we're having this conversation. All right, Doc. What else? Let's talk probiotics, prebiotics. How do you pick a good one? And I had someone who asked that question. A very good question. Um, Hi, Ms. Hicks. Good to see you. Hi, Dr. Mitras. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. All right. Someone asked a question. Let me pull it down. Oh, where did the question go? She was asking about probiotics with ulcerative colitis. Now, of course, these are medical suggestions. We do recommend you have an appointment with your doctor, but can a probiotic, she didn't ask about the pre, but a probiotic help if you have ulcerative colitis, other gut issues?
yeah, so let's define it. So a probiotic is a live microorganism that, when taken in a high enough quantity, conveys a benefit to the host, so to us. So a live something that we're taking in. So there's a big market out there for probiotics, and there are lots of studies, mostly in animal models, that suggest that taking a probiotic supplement helps a variety of conditions. And so that likely does include inflammatory bowel disorders like ulcerative colitis. But I want to throw out some cautions there. Okay. So the probiotic industry is not regulated. So
Mm,
what it says on the bottle may not be exactly what you're getting. It may not be in the quantity that you're getting. This is a complex community in there.
mm,
And so taking just one type of a bacteria or a yeast is unlikely to really solve a problem for you. And so it may be helpful, especially if you're deficient on it. But I think of the GI tract like a garden, or the microbiome kind of like a garden. And you can plant seeds every single day, but if you're planting them in sand and you don't have any organic material in there in your soil, you're just going to grow cactus and over, no matter how many times you plant the seeds. So taking a probiotic over and over is not going to help if you're not eating the prebiotic fiber. So, um, if you're getting a probiotic supplement, you really want to get one that has at least 6 different species of organisms in them. And very likely it needs to be refrigerated to be viable. There's another option though, and one that everybody should be having in their diet every day, and that is fermented foods.
mm,
And fermented foods have been part of the human culture for more than 10,000 years. We've been fermenting foods, mainly as a way to preserve them, but it turns out there is like a ton of health benefits. And one of them is that a lot of fermented foods contain probiotics. So they contain live active bacteria. And these are going to be things such as yogurt or sauerkraut or kimchi. So things that have been fermented and are refrigerated, not heat killed. There's a lot of other fermented foods, and you get other health benefits from them, even if the probiotic is no longer in them because you've cooked it. So things like sourdough bread, um, or a variety of other things. Kombucha, cottage cheese. I have a whole list of them sitting right here. But that they're better for you than a pill because they contain the prebiotic fiber. They contain often the probiotic, and then they contain a postbiotic, which is the breakdown product or the product that the bacteria makes. And sometimes this is the dead bacteria themselves, and those work as signaling molecules in our intestine. So it's like you get 3 for 1. So your bang for your buck is trying to add fermented foods to your diet every single day. Uh-oh. I lost you. I lost
Oh,
you.
I'm muted. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I'm sorry. My
cool.
dog was back barking in the background, so I was trying to. Okay. So you did mention fermented foods. You mentioned the importance of um
Pre.
uh, pro and prebiotic, so that you make sure that the probiotic is being fed adequately. You mentioned refrigerated sources. I haven't heard that before. So good to know. I tend to like there's a brand I use, Live Pure. They have the combination of both the pre and the post, a pro. So pre and pro, the two together, so that the probiotic is also fed in your gut. Doesn't substitute eating healthy though, the fiber. So you got to give it something to work with. All right. So and of course, as we say, make sure you schedule time with your doctor to come up with a plan that works for you. Um, Now, Doc, someone asked another question here, which was very good. They said, what are the key signs of an unhealthy gut that people often overlook?
I would say constipation is really a big one. I talk to patients all the time and they're like, oh, I only go once every 3 or 4 days and have a bowel movement. And that's not normal. Everybody's a little different, but no more than, every 24 to 48 hours, bowels should be moving. Otherwise, things are being exposed to the colon mucosa for too long. And so I would say that's the big one that really, I think we are plagued with our Western diet is chronic constipation.
Okay. And I always tell people for context, your colon is pretty long. It's about your height folded in there. So that's a whole lot of, we need not to be full of crap, like literally. Need you. So we are those doctors having conversation to help you get rid of crap, literally. All right. Now, how do stress and sleep affect gut health, Doc?
So these are interesting. So we all know being chronically stressed out is not good for us. But we have some studies that actually show that chronic stress in mice models causes a shift in the types of bacteria in the gut to be more in line with the obesity profile. So studies have shown that there is a difference in lean people's guts or microbiome makeup and those of obese people. There's different bacterial ratios. And of course, again, it's complex. It's not just straightforward. But the more stressed out you are, the more you're going to shift towards that more obese ratio of bacteria in your gut. The other thing that I found most consistently in studies is that they found that the chronic stress kind of decreases certain bacterial populations that help maintain the gut wall, the kind of healthy protection of the wall that keeps the bacteria on their side and, nutrients passing into the bloodstream on the other side. And so when that gut wall breaks down, we see impaired immune system function. And so that's something we've known for a while. Chronic stress impairs your immune system. We're starting to see a mechanism in the gut of how that works. Now with sleep, there definitely needs to be more studies done, but it does seem that your circadian rhythm or kind of your sleep-wake cycle is affected by your gut bacteria. And again, we see people that are have poor sleep or lacking sleep also shift towards this obese microbiome ratio.
Okay. So people are watching like, man, Doc, man, it's stressful times, man. Not sleeping well. Don't like fruits and vegetables. Probiotic, prebiotic. Oh my goodness, it sounds like a lot. So for someone who's watching, who's like, all right, can you give me actionable steps? Let's say 3 to 4 things they can do right this moment to say, you know what, I want to improve my gut health. Now we know that these things don't happen overnight, but small changes done consistently can improve quality and quantity of life. So for someone who's watching who's like, Doc, what simple steps can I take
I have
today?
a bunch of them, but I'll try to limit it. I'll try to make it.
Let's start with the first 3, and then as time allows, we'll expand that. Okay.
So the first one, we are eating way too many ultra processed foods.
Preach, man.
And so if you can minimize your ultra processed foods and try to replace them with whole foods, meaning something that you can identify as it would have come out of the earth, like an apple, the closer it is to how it came from the earth, the better it is for you. The ultra processed foods, they're replacing our fiber intake. That's why one of the reasons we're not getting enough fiber is because we're eating these packaged things that are made of sawdust essentially, and are not nourishing us. So minimize your ultra processed foods and try to eat whole foods instead. That's number one. Number two, look at your poop. So you don't have to dissect it. I know it's disgusting. You don't have to dissect it, but you would not believe the number of times I've asked a patient if there's any blood in their stool and they say, I don't know, I didn't look. I just flush it. Just if it comes out of your body, turn around and take a look at it, because
look at your poop.
That's the only way you're going to know what's going on in there, and you're going to know what's normal to you. So just look at it. And, if you could, you can keep a food journal or some sort of list if you're not happy with the way your poops look, and see if you can figure out what makes you have that great poop. So that was number two. Let's see. Oh, you're only going to limit me to 3. I'm going to have to squeeze a couple.
Okay,
more.
let's do 6. Let's do 6.
All right. Number 3, get some fermented foods in your diet. Most of them are condiments, and so you don't have to eat huge helpings, but if you can get one serving or one little bit of fermented food in your diet every day, it's going to help with your digestion.
Okay.
All right.
I like
eat a variety of fiber. So the goal is to get 30 different plants in per week. And it's really not that hard. I mean, if you eat a salad, you can get like 6 in one shot. You can make a little game out of it. That's what I do with my kids. We had a little contest of who could get the most different plants in their diet. And so you can kind of have fun with it.
And you know what I tend to do? We're in Texas. I don't know how it is in Colorado, but in Texas, the food here is really butterized, baconized, and it's just greasy. So one of the things I've had to do is kind of teach people how to eat better quality greens. So in powder form, I'm going to put the link here. I'm big on it because I tell them 1 to 2 scoops, you get a good variety of organic, concentrated. Sorry, my dog is wanting a hug right now. Concentrated greens, and I'm telling them add to. So what Dr. Katrina is saying here, we got to add more fiber to our diet. There's a non-negotiable, and it has to be a daily thing, not a one-off. All right, go ahead. Number 5.
Number 5, manage your stress. I know it's stressful times. There's a lot of stress going on all around us, but whatever it takes for you to minimize your stress, do it. Even if it's only 5 minutes a day, do a little meditation, take some deep breaths, take a walk, don't look at the news. If the news triggers you, schedule a massage, whatever it takes to bring your stress level down, do it. And movement is a big one. And I'm not talking about strenuous exercise, but movement increases the diversity of your gut microbiome. So move, wow. Walk, go for a walk, go do some squats at your desk, do some calf raises. There's just a ton of different little things that you can do to just keep moving.
I love that. Manage your stress, move, turn of the news. You don't have to watch everything on the news. All right. Any more? Any bonus?
I got one more that I think is important just to mention. Medications do affect your microbiome. And I'm an infectious disease doctor. I prescribe antibiotics all day, but I really try to be cognizant about not prescribing a very broad antibiotic and not going for longer than necessary with a treatment course. And so if you can avoid antibiotics, and if that means you have recurrent urinary tract infections, but you don't like drinking water because you have to go to the bathroom a lot, drink that water. Because going to the bathroom a lot is going to be a lot more convenient than having a really messed up microbiome. And there's some severe diseases like C. diff colitis that you can develop. The other big one that really has an effect on the microbiome, and everybody's on it, are proton pump inhibitors. So the acidic environment in our gastrointestinal tract helps keep bad bacteria at bay. And so it helps. We need that acidic environment. And so if you're on something like Prilosec or what are some of the other names of the PPI?
Nexium, um, the omeprazoles and such.
Yeah. So if you've started those and you don't really need to continue it, or you've never considered, do I need to continue it? Have a trial off of it and try to let your microbiome reset to where it's got more of the healthy, friendly bacteria in there.
And I love that you're highlighting this. So when the doctor is telling you don't eat antibiotics, don't fight it. We're not saying don't get medications you need. It's just too much of it can actually affect you long term and short term too. So I'm glad that we're talking about this. I have a lot of comments. Let me answer some questions. So someone says, for people that are literally backed up, so they can't even see their poop because it's backed up, is laxative or tea okay? What are your thoughts?
I know there are certain teas that help. Laxatives stimulate colon contractions. And so if you're really backed up, that's going to be a really painful way to try to move things. So I typically advise people to start with stool softeners and fiber supplements and try to kind of soften things up from the inside before you go right to laxatives. You may have a different practice.
Oh, I agree. I'm not big on the medicine. So I tend to have them eat more greens. I'm putting a link to the greens I recommend. I say pear. Pear is very good. Kiwi is also very good to help you go. Dates are good too. Prunes are good. But you want to increase more fiber so that like I said, the length of the colon, it's pretty long. So helping your gut do that naturally is best. Of course, the medicines are there to kind of help give you a fresh start, but too much of it can also injure your colon. So, of course, have a conversation with your doctor to talk about a plan that's more customized for you. Doc, another question. Hi, Dr. Brenda. Good to see you. Is sauerkraut good for you?
Sauerkraut is fantastic for you. Eat it every day.
Fermented.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
She said, yes, it is. She approves that message. Okay. As it go, yes. She said, I limit my CNN politics news. And let's see. I have Ms. Jackie. She said, I really appreciate that Dr. Katrina Coulter looks at the bigger picture. Not only is she a brilliant infectious disease physician, I wanted you to make sure you saw that, but she does address nutrition to help the whole body. Years ago. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you see that comment. I'll send that to you because that's a powerful feedback and reflection for you. So someone mentioned, yes, look at your poop. It tells us so much about your health. I agree. Another person is asking, how do I prevent blockages? Also, is extremely excessively stinky, uncontrollable gas, is that normal? She says she farts a lot and it's stinky. What are your thoughts on the smell?
Yeah, so gas is not a bad thing. It's a sign of good digestion, but there are certainly circumstances where it's uncomfortable, and not just socially uncomfortable, but physically uncomfortable. And so there needs to be a balance. So if you're having terrible stinky gas all the time, your intestines are trying to tell you there's something else that they're wanting. And so something like protein. So you might be getting a ton of fiber, and that's great. And now you need a little bit of protein to kind of also help with the digestion.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that feedback. And someone said, last question. This is going to be the last one because it's almost 7:00. Any thoughts on colonics? Good question, actually.
By colonics, are you meaning like colon cleanses?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am not a fan of colon cleanses. I do not see a benefit of wiping out the entire microbiome because they're not all bad. And so going, nuclear on your intestines is not helpful. They
Somebody
I
pooped.
understand the thought, I like the premise behind a cleanse of, kind of getting something bad out, but it's like that saying, you might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're losing your very helpful bacteria as well. And then you've got to repopulate the whole thing. And that makes you very vulnerable for pathogenic bacteria to come in. And that's really hard on that gut lining. And so it's not something that I recommend, unless, of course, your doctor wants you to do it for a colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy. Okay. So there are ways to do there are ways to do it. So they call it nuclear part got me. LOL. But there are ways to do it naturally and with foods and the best way possible. So that's really good. Now, sorry, one more last question. Are all fermented foods good for you?
They have varying health benefits. I mean, we're in that category: beer and wine and chocolate and coffee and vanilla. Yeah, so those are all fermented foods. So there are varying health benefits, and certainly you can have too much of something. So again, not all of them have probiotics in them, but most of them are going to have some sort of benefit and pre-digested fiber and more bioavailability.
This was fun, Doc. This was really, really fun. We had a lot of engagement, very good viewers today. If you're watching, please drop where you're watching from so I can give you a shout out. Very engaging and very beautiful questions. So, Doc, I'm sure people are wondering, where's this Doc? Where can I follow her content? I love her balanced use of examples. Love the questions answered. Very relatable. Doc, where can people find you?
So the best place to find me right now is on YouTube. I have a channel, a fledgling channel. We're getting more and more up all the time, but it's called Katrina C-MD. I also have a website, katrinacoultermd.com, that is under construction, but hopefully will be up soon. And I'll have a couple freebies on there with fermented foods and prebiotic fiber. So you can have a quick reference when you go to the grocery store. But for now, the best place is the YouTube channel, Katrina C-MD. And I'll have updates on there about other places to find me.
All right, awesome. I want to tell you where our guests are watching from. We have from Midlothian, Texas. Well, we got Staten Island, New York. Woohoo, New York in the house. Waxahachie, Texas, Colorado. You have people watching from hey. Yeah. And then Grand Prairie, Texas, Grass Valley, California. Awesome. Thank you all for watching. Please, as always, share this with those who could use this information. You can give this and help someone's poop out, help their gut. They'll thank you for it. All right. And then I've put, and Memphis, Tennessee, definitely Memphis is representing. So I've put the information for your YouTube channel. I definitely encourage you all to grab that link. Fort Worth. All right. Thank you, Texas. Texas is in the house. Appreciate you. And then she's on Facebook. She's also on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So I'm going to put all of that here with the spelling of her name so you can reach out and you can engage in, even though I don't encourage binge watching, but it's binge worthy content. Okay. Things that empower you to live longer well. Doc, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. So get your poop questions ready. We'll advertise it. But thank you all for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you again, Doc. This was really good. I learned a lot as well. All right. So that being said, if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and compassionate family physician in the Texas area to have conversations like this to help you live long and well, I am she. Have a good one, everyone. God bless you and have a great rest of the week. Doc, hang around. I want to give you a high five before you